Sometimes for various reasons, social scientists or economists like to talk about how someone stands in financial status compared to poverty level. Poverty level is usually, it's like a definition. It's established, I think, by the government for the purposes of who gets special assistance with tax breaks or maybe qualifies for special kinds of help or scholarships, etc. And so the poverty level, let's say that there was a family of a certain size, and it was determined that the poverty level was $20,000 a year. Okay? Now, here's the question. Suppose I was trying to decide who qualified to get free instruction that I was giving in math or something else, and I wanted to make it accessible to people that really couldn't afford to pay for it, and I thought the poverty level is pretty modest, that maybe I'd want to offer this to people that were a little bit above the poverty level. So suppose I said, that I'm going to offer this to any family of whatever, let's say 2 people, whose income is 120% of the poverty level, or less than that. 120% of the poverty level. And poverty level is 20,000. So what is the annual salary that I'm going to offer this discount for to people making that amount of money? What would that be? What we're really asking is, what is 120% of $20,000? Okay, so let's figure it out. 120%. Now notice that this is more than 100%. So it's more than like 1, so to speak. It's going to be above the poverty level. You may have heard people saying things like, well, they're living on, half the amount of poverty level or whatever. 120% means they're living above the level of poverty level, but not by that much. So this is going to be 120%. Always means parts per 100, or I take the number and divide it by 100. This equals this. Of is expressed as multiplication. There's my little dot to signify multiplication. And $20,000. I'm just copying that down. Okay, now if I want to convert this to a fraction, anything divided by 1 is itself. So my answer, or one way, it's actually a little cumbersome and there are probably easier ways, but I'm going to do this the way that we've been kind of operating to practice using the rules we've learned. So one way is to multiply the numerators and then multiply the denominators. So that would be 120 times 20,000. 1, 2, 3, and 20. Okay? Multiply. This is going to be 0. 2 times 0 is 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 0. And 2 times 2 is 4. And then the last row will be 0, 0, 0, 0, and 1 times 2 is 2. So these two numbers multiply together to make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, to make 2,400,000. So this is equal to 2,400,000. And I'm dividing it by 100 times 1 is 100. All right, this is going to be the same as 100 times 2,400,000, 24,000. 24,000 times 100 equals this, and the new denominator is 100 times 1. So I can kind of think of this as 100 over 100 times 24,000 over 1, and the answer here is 24,000. 24,000. Now, I haven't been carrying my units, which I really should. This was a dollar sign, so we're talking about dollars. So it's really $24,000. That is 120% of the poverty line. I could have made this big multiplication, which was kind of awkward, a little easier for myself if I went ahead and said 20 is the same thing. I could have written, from this point, I could have done the problem like this. I could have said it's 120 over 100 times 100 times 200, right? Double check me, am I doing this right? Is 100 times 200 equal to this? Let's see. 200, and when I multiply by 100, I add 2 zeros. So yes, it is. So this is equal to this. Now, I'm going to state this a little differently. It would be 120 times 100 times 200, all over 1 times 100. So I could actually call this 120 over 1 times 100 over 100 times 200 over 1, right? Because this 1 times 100 is the same thing as 1 times 100 times 1, because 1 times anything is itself. Now, the 100 over 100 is a form of 1. So what I've really got is 120 over 1 times 200 over 1, right? And then if I multiply those two, I don't have to multiply such a huge number. And let's see, that should come out to, if this is actually dollars, I didn't carry my dollar sign, but it would be dollar sign all the way along. So let's check it out. Is 200 times 120, zeros, 2 times 0 is 0, 2 times 0 is 0, 2 times 2 is 4. And this would be 0, 0, and 200. So this is 0, 0, 0, 4, 2. So this is 24,000. So this would be equal to dollars 24,000 over 1, and anything over 1 is just itself. So you see, I got the same answer whether I multiplied it all out and then simplified, or simplified it and then I had two smaller numbers to multiply. It's just the same thing. So now let's do some other problems that involve percentages, again with some real life applications. Let's say that you saw a dress that you liked, you wanted to buy it, or a shirt, and there was two stores that were carrying it and they both had a sale on the same shirt. One of them gave a sale of 1/5 off. And the other store is giving a sale of 15% off. Which one would be the better deal for you? Well, to compare that, you've got to get them both to be percents, or both to be a fraction. Let's convert them both to percents. Suppose we look at 1/5, and we know that a percent means parts per 100. So a percent always means a number over 100. How can I convert 1/5 into a fraction with 100 as the denominator? So 5 times 20 is 100, and 1 times 20 is 20. So a fifth and 20 1/100ths are the same thing. So a sale of a fifth off is the same thing as a sale of 20 1/100ths off. But another way of writing 20 1/100ths is 20%. So one store the one that's giving you a fifth off is giving you 20% off, and the other store is giving you only 15% off. So the better deal is the 1/5 off. Okay, and let's take a look at this. Suppose you have a number and you have the problem, change this to a fraction. Okay, it's 14.75%. Now I want you to understand this means a little less than 15%. It's 1/4% less than 15%. So how can we get this to be a fraction? Well, it's anything with a percent sign after it is equal to that number over 100. Now let's convert 14.75 into a fraction. So this will be a complex fraction. It's a fraction with a fraction inside of it. Okay. 14.75 is the same thing as 14 over 1, because that means 14, added to 3/4. To get that to be so that we can add it, we have to get the same denominator. So we're going to get the denominator of 4. So 14 times 4 is going to be 16 carry the 1, 4 and 1 is 5, so that's going to be 56/4 and another 3/4. So that's 59/4. That's what 14.75 is equal to, 59/4. So here I have 59 over 4, all divided by 100, which is the same thing as 100 over 1. Okay? I've just re-expressed 14.75, and I've called 100 over 1 because, I'll say this again, any number divided by 1 is itself. Dividing something by 1 doesn't change the value. So now I can put this use our rule for how to divide fractions. It's the first number, the first fraction, divided by 100 over 1 is the same thing as the 59/4, or the first number, times 1 over 100. So this is going to be 59 over 400. So this 59/400 is a fraction that is equivalent to this percentage. This fraction is a little less than 15% or 15/100. Okay, I think that concludes our work on percentages.